if you can't trust them, and if you want to change them, we'll get to that one next. If you can't trust them, don't marry them. If you can't trust them, don't marry them. And if you have trust, you have an ongoing ability to work through crisis. But if you're, dating or you can't trust anybody, that's something you got to work out in a different thing with the Lord and with other folks. But if you're dating and you don't have trust, you really don't have anything to build a marriage on. And the world, unfortunately, has been making being trustworthy not important. That whatever you do before marriage, you can be as untrustworthy as you want, and that's destructive stuff. You don't just suddenly become trustworthy, because you're married. You're cultivating a trustworthy nature. And so I would really highly be looking at, do I trust them, implicitly trust them? If you're having to check on emails and wondering about this or that or anything else, or are they going to get work, or are they going to stay employed, or will I trust them to be fair when we're having a conflict, or do they intimidate? Have they ever kind of bowed up, are they cussing at me when they say they love the Lord, but they're using cussing and intimidation in the moment of conflict? These are not trustworthy behaviors. Right. And so if trust isn't there, don't get married. Don't enter into covenant. And the other deal is that if you feel like, I'll change that when I marry, I'm like, that's just a disaster.
Yeah, it is.
Nobody wants to be somebody else's project, And so you kind of have to go into marriage going, my eyes are wide open. And if your wife's an introvert, she's probably going to stay an introvert, that's probably not going to change a ton. And if somebody's not trustworthy, short of the gospel of grace doing a great work in their life, which I'd ask you to see sustained for over a year, before somebody's rescued by the gospel out of something, let them walk the walk of trust before you, before you covenant and give your whole self to that. But if you're thinking you're going to change somebody, if that's just not going to be a healthy deal. In some ways, you kind of have to figure out, are these battles I'm ready to fight? And have I figured out what are negotiable in marriage and what's non-negotiable in marriage? And ideally, the idea that they're a provider, that they're bringing strength, that there's trust in this relationship, then those are non-negotiables. Those are just healthy marriage. But there's got to be some things that you're going like, you know what? That's the way they are, and I got no right to resent them for it in 5 years when they're still doing that.
Right. Sure.
If they're not great with money, that might be something they're going to deal with for a while. You better be ready to bring strength, to bring other help into the marriage and go, this might be something we battle for a bit until we kind of get on the same page.
Right, which is good because it's saying you don't necessarily need someone to be perfect.
Exactly.
Like there are going to be things that maybe are challenges in their life, but it's something that's best to go in with both eyes wide open. I see as many challenges as I can, and I've chosen. This is something that I want to work through.